Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my girlfriend because she changed her looks to resemble my dead wife? My 35 male was married to Laura for 7 years. We have a son who is 10 now. She was the light of my life, but when we were both 28, we found out that she had a rare form of cancer. She passed away 5 months later. This crushed me, and I was left drowning in my grief for a long time afterwards. My son and I have been attending therapy weekly ever since. It's been tough, but I feel like we've made a lot of progress. I didn't feel up to another relationship for a while. I filled my time with hobbies, friends, and spending time with my son and family. Then, a little over a year ago, I met Kayla, 33 female, at a work event. We share a hobby that's pretty niche where I live, so we had a great time chatting about it. Eventually, we began to go out together. She's great, but different from my wife. I love her for who she is as an individual. I was hesitant at first, but after speaking with my therapist, I decided to try for a committed relationship if we took it slow. At first, she was amazing. I told her about my past and that my son comes first even before our first official date. She was very compassionate and understanding about everything. After a few months of smooth sailing, I decided to introduce her to my son, and they got along great as well. For the first time after Laura's death, I could start to see a possible future with someone else. Everything started to go downhill around 4 months ago. She seemed to be a bit more distant than usual, so I sat down with her one night to ask her what was wrong. She teared up a bit and confessed that she felt I had been neglecting her lately. She then said that she feels like I'm using her as some replacement for my dead wife. This came as a total shock. A part of me will always love Laura, but I didn't feel like I was ignoring Kayla or anything. I asked for some specific examples, but she didn't say much afterwards. I felt guilty that I had made her upset, so I ended up apologizing and arranged for us to have a few more date nights, and she seemed happy again. Then a couple weeks later, she had to go to a cousin's wedding. I couldn't attend because of work, but she was only gone for a day. When she got back, I asked for some pictures, but she said there hadn't been any of her. I thought it was a bit strange, but didn't pry. Then, the next day, a coworker of mine showed me one of a private page on Facebook. I was shocked to see an expensive pair of my wife's earrings in Kayla. In my son's room, there is a small cupboard with pictures of him and his mom, letters from her, and some of her prized jewelry. I checked it as soon as I came home, and the earrings were returned to the cupboard but in a different spot. I confronted her, and she got mad, yelling at me for assuming she'd be so careless as to lose or damage the earrings. I told her I was just hurt she'd go behind my back and take something with sentimental value, even if they were beautiful. She eventually broke down and apologized, and after a serious talk about boundaries, we moved on. Things improved for a while before her strange behavior started. It began with her changing her hair color to match my wife's. My wife had naturally light blonde hair that a lot of women dye their hair to today, so while I thought it was strange, I wrote it off as a beauty choice. Then she began regularly straightening her hair. She has wavy hair, and my wife's hair was pinned straight. She also started to change her clothes to be more like my wife's, or at least the one she's seen in pictures. She also had her ears double pierced and got a cartilage piercing like my wife. This was all incredibly unnerving, but she just said I was crazy. I'd asked my family and they said I was nuts too, so I ignored it. Then she brought up having my son call her Mama. I said I wasn't a huge fan of the idea, but if my son wanted it, I supposed I'd be fine. She went on a whole rant about how it was different, because it called my wife Mommy, so it's not like she's stealing a title. He said no, and she was a bit cold to both of us for days. She seemed like a totally different woman than the one I fell in love with. But everyone around me just said I was probably nervous, since it's my first relationship after Laura's passing. The final straw was when she got a tattoo that was almost the exact same as my wife's. It was in the same spot, same color, just with a slightly different design. That was my final straw. I sat her down and confronted her a week ago with everything. At first, she denied it all, but then broke down in tears and said I never loved her. She said she felt that she had to live up to the memory of a ghost. This upset me because I had asked her before what I did specifically and she wouldn't discuss it. Plus, she was the one being weird and copying Laura. She kept sobbing and saying I didn't love her. I got so sick of it. I yelled at her saying that if she felt so unloved, we should just break up. I honestly do like her, but I've seen how miserable she has been lately. And I don't think this relationship is good for her mental health. She got dead silent and just left and drove away. I was just so tired of everything. Later that night, she tried to end herself with pills and barely survived. She has no living family, so I was listed as her emergency contact. She wrote a long letter to me saying she loves me so much, but obviously I don't feel the same. And that maybe if she was dead too, I'd love her, even a fraction of how much I loved my dead wife. I'm distraught over this. She's been so strange lately, but before all of this, I really did love her. My mom and siblings keep on saying that I'm awful for pushing her to this point, and that instead of ending it, I should have doubled down in reassuring my love for her. They all got along great with her, and had been hinting that they wanted us to get married so my son would have a mother again, and possibly some siblings. I didn't think I was the a-hole, but my whole family's being cold to me and I have no idea what to do. They're saying I should go visit as soon as possible and support her with this to rekindle our relationship. I'm not sure if I want to do that. She's so unhappy with me and seems obsessed over my dead wife. I keep on thinking over this and wondering if I should have reassured her of my love again or broken up with her in a more tactful way. Am I the a-hole? I'm sorry this is so long. My brain is still scrambled from the whole thing and I'm rambling. Now for the top comments. Things about to get crazy. Get as far away as possible. Not the a-hole though. You need to get her away from you and your son now. Self-harm attempts or threats are one of the biggest predictors of DV. And she is obviously a very emotionally unhealthy, manipulative woman. Please run. This times a million. Please, at least be in touch with an attorney and file for an order of protection if in the US. This is not safe for you and your son. I can't tell if she lives with you or not, but if she does, please go stay with someone you trust for a few days to give her time to clean her stuff out without the opportunity for confrontation. Maybe have cameras on just in case. Get yourself and your son safe. Go no contact in every possible sense. And please know that this is not your fault, and you deserve to be loved again by a true partner. She seems disturbed, and your family wants this woman around your son? Big no. And to commit to her and have kids with her? No, 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 no. Yeah, it's long past due for Kayla to be tossed away and for him to start anew. But I fear Kayla did her damage in Opie, and now he will be hesitant about dating again. Good luck, Opie. Bringing a woman into your son's life that is mentally unstable is not better than not having a mother figure. If you are going to have any sort of healthy relationship, she needs to be happy first. Anyone worth being with will understand your son comes first and so should she. That means a mentally stable partner. If not, it's not going to work. Next story. Am I the a-hole for allowing my wife to cook for 7 hours by herself to prove a point? My wife is a neurologist. Once a month, we have a tradition where we and 4 other families we are friends with from her work gather in our houses for dinner. This month was our turn to host. Usually I cook all the meals at home because my wife is an incompetent cook, although she claims she's amazing at it. When she cooks, she would crank up the heat to max and says that it just cooks the meal faster. And it doesn't make any difference. It does. Friday night, I was doing prep work on all the vegetables since I was going to be cooking for around 7 hours yesterday. I was almost done when my wife came into the kitchen complaining that I was wasting my time and that I should be helping with the children. I got annoyed. We've had this fight for years. If I cook something simple for the next 4th month, she would nag me for weeks after each dinner with her friends about how I embarrassed her. This time, I wasn't in the mood for fighting, so I wrote out the entire menu with a schedule of when each dish had to be cooked. The menu is traditional homemade bread, 4 dips, roast aubergine, roasted bell peppers, cream and mushrooms, sour cream and caramelized onions, 2 platters of cured meats, and sausages for the appetizers. For the main course, there was lasagna and chicken skewers with an Indian marinade with 2 salads, green salad and cabbage and carrots. For dessert, there was a New York cheesecake and a lemon tart with Swiss meringue. There are 2 options for each, because one of the husbands is lactose intolerant, and we will seem cheap if we only had one option. My wife's words. When I was done, I called my parents and had them fake an emergency. Yesterday they called and said that a pipe burst and wanted my help. Since my wife is competent and can do everything by herself, I took the kids with me to fix the pipe and let her cook. I spent the day resting while pretending to fix the pipe, and my parents were playing with the kids. An hour and a half before dinner time, I took the kids home so we can shower and prepare. As I mentioned, my wife did a horrible job. Either the food was raw, burnt, or a combination of both. Her friends probably went to McDonald's after that dinner because we have a lot of scraps left. Now she's singing a different song and saying that I abandoned her when I was the one that knows how to cook and she doesn't, and blames me for the whole fiasco. I still haven't told her the truth, and I'm not planning to actually. That is why I made this new account. But I wanted to know if I was the idiot in this situation because she still hasn't learned her lesson and still blames me. When I don't do everything she wants, I'm the bad guy. But if I let her do things how she wants them, I'm still the bad guy. Sounds like you at least learned that you're always gonna be the bad guy. Now, it's time for you to figure out if you want to continue living that way and what to do about it. Not the a-hole for what you did as everyone reaches a breaking point. She's still blaming Opie, so I doubt whether she's actually learned anything. Especially since she's a surgeon and is supposed to be smart. Oh, she knows. She's not dumb. She's prideful and won't admit it. She just looks stupid and abusive at this point. So no matter what you do, you're in the wrong. Sounds exhausting AF. Not the a-hole. Agreed. OP's getting close to that last straw that breaks the camel's back when his wife is blaming him for all of her problems. Honestly, sounds like my parents' relationship. My dad is always wrong no matter what he does. I didn't appreciate what my husband did. I learned after the divorce. Some people don't see the wrong till it has ended. It's a big thing for you to admit. Well done on a self-reflection. Damn, major props to you for maturity and growth. I have read literally thousands of post-divorce stories, and everyone's seen this expressed. Last story. Am I the a-hole because I won't gift my grandmother's wedding set to my stepson, even though I don't have children? My sister, 56 female, and I, 58 female, each inherited our grandmother's wedding bands. I got mine from our maternal grandmother, and my sister got her set from our paternal grandmother. Obviously, the idea when we were young was to pass it down to our children. Well, my sister had a daughter in her late 20s, and I found out that my fallopian tubes did not form quite right, and I just never could get pregnant. But then my sister got pregnant again 10 years later, and I was relieved it was a little girl. A few months later, we agreed that when she grew up, she would get the other set. The oldest niece, 28 female, has the set from the father's side, and the youngest, 18 female, is young, so I'm still holding on to them. Not really relevant to the story, but my first husband left because he wanted kids. I have since married a wonderful man, 60 male, who has a son, 27 male, and I don't know if this is relevant, but he is an only child and so is my husband. My husband's parents died a decade ago or so he has really become attached to my family. My stepson's mother has a large Italian family, so he has a lot of cousins. Anyway, he is getting ready to graduate grad school next year and has a girlfriend that he wants to marry. His own maternal grandmother has offered her set to him if he wanted them, which, to be honest, I thought was really generous and sweet of her. He didn't like the style and declined, but he has now asked if I would give him my grandmother's set. Here's the kicker. His reasoning is that my niece who is intended to receive it is asexual. I tried to gently and reasonably explain that it didn't matter what she does with it. They belong to her. She may very well want them for a wholly different reason. He said that there isn't a better reason than a marriage, since that is what they were made for, and that she made sure that isn't in her future. I, maybe stupidly, suggested maybe she would want a ceremony to commit to her own well-being and health and happiness. And he got real awful about her marrying her cat. I told him I'm sorry, but they are family heirlooms from my side of the family to be passed through my side of the family. He got snippy about it, saying, I guess I'm not your side of the family. At which point my husband said that this hurt his feelings since he thought I considered his son part of my family. An absolute mess of hurt feelings ensued, and it ended with a stepson storming off and my husband in the guest room. And I'm here completely alone. No kids of my own to give this to, and my husband acting like I just somehow severed him and his son from my family. And here's the thing, I don't care if my niece is ace, and if she is for her life, or if she explores romantic and personal relations of whatever nature, enthusiastic consenting adults is my only caveat. She is under no obligation to find an intimate partner of any gender, and certainly doesn't owe anyone children. She is 18 years old, for Christ's sake. She may very well decide to share it with a platonic life partner, or she might do what my sister and I did and agree with her sister to pass it down through her children, which, ironically, the oldest niece has 2 baby girls, 3 and 4. But somehow I'm the a-hole? I mean, am I? Sorry if this is rambling and emotional, or if it's confusing. I should probably wait to write later, but I've spent the last hour crying and needed to vent. Edit? I'm sorry, my husband did not ever ask me to give his son the rings. When Sam, his son, made a comment about guessing he's not on my side of the family, my husband got upset, and things got derailed because his feelings got hurt, and the argument turned into me being an a-hole for saying his son isn't on my side of the family. From my husband's point of view, I think it's because my family's the only family he has aside of Sam, so if it seems like I cut Sam out, then that leaves him without anyone outside of my family? I don't know. I don't think my husband will not support me with the rings tomorrow. Things just got complicated and ugly and hurt with the whole part of the family thing. Not the a-hole. Before your husband and stepson entered your life, you pledged to pass your rings onto your niece. It doesn't matter what her Reality is, they effectively belong to her, and you do not have the right to give her belongings to someone else. Only if you had no plans for the rings would your stepson be able to ask. It has nothing to do with whether he is part of the family. It's to do with honoring a promise. What makes your stepson even more of an entitled a-hole is his rejection of the rings he was already offered is not good enough. Exactly. How hurt must his own grandmother have been to have him reject a wedding set that was good enough for her? Not the a-hole. Your stepson just wants the nicest ring he can get for free. His own grandmother offered him her ring, but he wants the one from your grandmother because he or his girlfriend likes that one better. You have already promised the ring to your niece, and I think it is important to honor your word here. Agreed. Your stepson is a greedy, yucky person. Also, a promise is a promise. And the fact that the niece has A's is none of stepson's freaking business. Also, please keep the ring set safe and secure. We've heard too many stories on here about entitled family members helping themselves to jewelry after they've been told no.